Could this be the one cable to rule them all? I wish. This is not a Lord of the Rings type situation. In this video, I'm going to show you what cables I use for my home studio. These are probably the cables you'll need for your studio as well. Lots of choices out there, so I'm simplifying here to make things easy for you. You'll see tons of cables around my studio, and if you're like me, you really want to minimize this crazy cable situation. So let's find multiple uses for the cables we get. I'll show you the most important cables, which ones I use, and I'll include links to all of them in the video description below. Let's get started, but watch until the end because I have some simple solutions to keep your cable situation tidy. All right, here's an easy one, a microphone cable. But it can do more. This is the Amazon Basics XLR microphone cable. These are usually on the cheaper side compared to most other companies, but it varies on how long a cable you need. I usually get the 6-foot long ones. These come in other sizes from 3 to 50 feet. 50 feet might be good for using on stage or if you've got a really big studio. So remember I said that this is more than a mic cable? Well, you can also use these for speakers and other sound equipment like connecting a preamp to a compressor. By the way, you usually find XLR connections on studio monitors, not consumer speakers. All right, let's talk about the TRS to XLR cable next. This one is by Cable Matters, but Hosa makes good ones too. This cable can be used with studio monitors, mixers, powered speakers, and even home karaoke systems. I use this one with my studio monitors because most audio interfaces have a 1/4-inch output, and most higher-end or larger studio monitors have an XLR input. Be sure to check what connections you have on the back of your studio monitors. If you don't have this XLR connection, you'll need some other cables, which I'll talk about in a sec. So you'll see lots of cables with gold plating. Gold plating isn't necessary, but it does help to reduce oxidation. By the way, all these cables I show here have a copper braiding shield in the wiring to cancel as much hum and noise as possible. Next, we're going to talk about TRS and TS cables. Here's a general rule. Use TS cables when connecting a guitar to an amp, effects pedals, or an audio interface or mixer. Use TRS cables when connecting mono balanced line inputs or outputs or stereo inputs or outputs. Basically, use TS cables for guitars or instruments and TRS for other stuff. You can tell the difference because TRS cables have an extra line right here. Now I use Hosa TS and TRS cables and I've been really happy with them. Using them to connect my synths to mixers and my mixer to an audio interface, they feel really well made, solid, and haven't let me down yet. I'll put links to the ones you see in this video in the description below. Okay, the last cable that you may need in your studio. Okay, and I say may need because it really depends on whether you have lots of synths, especially older synths or keyboards around. Most keyboards these days have USB connections, but some older ones have MIDI connections only. And for those, you'll need a MIDI cable to connect them to an audio interface or a MIDI interface, which then connects to your computer by USB. Connecting a MIDI cable is really only necessary if you want one keyboard to talk to another keyboard, or if you want to record the MIDI notes and messages from your keyboard to your computer. I'll add a link to some MIDI cables in the video description. So we've talked about the most basic cables you need in your studio. How about a way to organize them? I've got a few of these around my studio, and I've even mentioned them in my 25 gadgets under $50 video. You can watch that right up here. These simple but helpful organizers really help to keep my studio neat and accident-free. They are cheap solutions, and I highly recommend you invest in any or all of them. Be sure to check out that video for my recommendations. If you're new around here, I'm SanjayC. I have tons of videos about music production and the latest music gear on my channel. Consider subscribing if you haven't already. All right, there you have it, cables for your studio. If there are any other music studio accessories that you'd like me to share on my channel, let me know in the comments below. Keep making the music you love, and I'll see you in the next video.